I have been here on YouTube for a while now. I think it's been over a year. During this time, I have shared videos on all kinds of topics, from how to create your ideal learning routine and make English a part of your life, to why you can't say I am agree. But one thing I haven't really talked about is me, who I am as a teacher. So today, I would love to introduce myself properly and share some teaching values I live and work by. And I want this to be a dialogue. I'd really love to hear from you. So drop a comment below and tell me, how long have you been learning English? And what do you value most in a teacher? Alright, let's see what you will never find in my lessons and why that's a good thing. I never correct every single mistake while you are talking. Why? Because with all my love for grammar and structure, real communication matters more than perfect accuracy. When you are speaking and someone, well, a teacher, interrupts you every 2 seconds to fix a form or an article, your brain freezes. You stop thinking in English, start second-guessing yourself, and your confidence is gone. Don't get me wrong. Of course, I will not just let you babble whatever is in your mind, ignoring the basic English logic. I do correct mistakes, just not all of them right away. I distinguish two types of mistakes: major errors and small slip-ups. When you make a major error, you mainly misuse tenses, word order, conditional types, parts of speech, or pronunciation. These mistakes can cause serious misunderstandings. Just imagine, you want to share your plans for the weekend, but instead of saying I'm going to the cinema, you say I went to the cinema or just I go to the cinema. This example is really simple, but it illustrates the possible confusion. So these kinds of mistakes must be corrected immediately so they don't stick. It's easier to deal with the problem before it becomes a habit. On the other hand, there is no big deal if you make a little slip up that won't really affect the way people understand what you're saying. What is a small slip up? Well, it won't be the end of the world if you say she won't instead of she wants. I will not stop you right there and interrupt your idea. It is much more important for me in this situation to reinforce your confidence while speaking, because fluency doesn't come from being corrected 10 times per sentence. It comes from feeling safe to speak and knowing that someone has got your back when it really matters. Besides, such a slip-up will be corrected later after you finish the sentence. No worries, I have everything written down. I never force my students, but I don't motivate them either. I never force my students to do anything. But there is something you might not expect a teacher to say. I don't try to motivate them either. Let me explain. I take full responsibility for my part. I design every lesson to meet your goals. I make it relevant, clear, practical, and effective. I give you tools, support, and honest feedback. I show up 100%, but I expect you to show up 100% too, because your progress depends on your actions. I don't chase students reminding them of their goals or trying to convince them that English is important. You already know that. That's why you are here. I'll guide you, I'll support you, I will celebrate progress with you. But I won't push, pressure, or parent you, because the real progress, in language and in life, comes from the inside, not from someone constantly telling you what to do. I don't ignore your needs or goals. I work with the most important component of a lesson, my students, and they know it. I am never afraid and have nothing against adjusting my plans to what matters the most, their requests. Plans in textbooks, who needs them? And now I said it out loud. When the real magic happens, the moment students realize that English actually blends in with their lives. It's not something odd and alien. It's not something that might be used one day, but I don't really see it happen. And English learning is definitely not something that just gets in my way. When my students see how English connects to their lives, be it their work, hobbies, or favorite TV shows, they started looking at it differently. It stops being a chore and becomes, well, their lifestyle. Naturally, whenever they ask me to work on something they are genuinely interested in, I am happy to break my plans. Just last week, one of my students voiced concern. He couldn't make head or tail of the tweets he was interested in. We had covered articles in English, yet he saw none in those tweets. We had discussed the sentence structure, yet half of the words seemed to be missing. I could have told him, sorry, we have a program and a plan to follow, but I didn't. Instead, we plunged into the fascinating world of how to correctly break the rules of English we had just learned, and sound natural, not ignorant. My lessons are about connection and relevance. We talk about real-life situations, tackle actual challenges, and celebrate progress together. Because when English feels personal, that's when the real learning happens. I don't talk 90% of a lesson. And that's not because I'm lazy. You don't come to my lessons to just listen. You come to use English. Speak, explore, make mistakes, and grow. Of course I explain things and guide you when needed. I do ask you questions and welcome you to ask yours. We can have really deep and meaningful conversations in the lesson, but the focus stays on you, because the only way to actually learn to speak English is to speak it. That's why I give you time and space to do just that, without me taking over the conversation. I never stop learning myself. Being a teacher doesn't mean I know everything, and I don't pretend to. What it does mean is that I'm always growing, just like you. I regularly try new methods, explore new materials, take courses, and reflect on my teaching. I ask myself what worked, what didn't, and what I can do better. I experiment and adjust. I learn from my colleagues, and more than anything, I learn from my students. Every person I work with brings something unique, a question, a challenge, a perspective, and that keeps me sharp, creative, and motivated. I believe if I ask you to stay curious, open, and consistent in your learning, I have to do the same. I'm not here to just repeat what I've always done. I'm here to evolve with you. That's one of the reasons why I love teaching so much. It keeps me learning every single day. I never ignore grammar, no matter how hard you may ask me to. I get it, grammar isn't always fun, and some students hope I will skip it and focus only on conversation. But the thing is, every language is a structure, and grammar is what holds the structure together. Without it, speech turns into a word salad. What's the point of expanding your vocabulary if you don't know how to operate it? Sure, learning phrases and a bit of creative gesturing can help in basic situations, but that won't take you far in the workplace or in any serious conversation. Still not convinced? Ask yourself, how do I feel when I can't express myself naturally and clearly? Am I okay with being misunderstood or not taken seriously? When it comes to professional settings, grammar matters even more. It shows clarity, confidence, and attention to details, qualities that absolutely reflect your professionalism. Now, don't worry, I will not turn our lessons into a grammar bootcamp, but I also will not pretend it's optional. So, those are just some of the things you will not find in my lessons, and now I hope it's clear why. For me, teaching isn't about delivering the same lesson to everyone. It's about building real connection, staying flexible, and helping you grow in a way that actually makes sense for your life. If any of these resonates with you, I'd love to have you stick around. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and drop a comment to share what you value most in a teacher. Thank you for watching this video, and see you in the next one.